Let's go back to that relaunch experience that kind of set you on your path and how that ended up harnessing this whole world around dreams for you.
Okay. So I had been a psychotherapist and working with a lot of people who've had various sorts of loss and trauma in their lives. And I also had been in my own dream circle for many years before my relaunch experience, and also teaching dream work to others. And then when my husband and I got married, we were in our late 30s, early 40s, and we wanted to have a family. We both joke that we each had a practice marriage first, where there were no kids involved, and then when we married,
I had one of those too, but there are kids involved.
Pardon, there were or weren't?
There are. We've got.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also had a blended family growing up. So, but anyway, my husband and I wanted to have kids, and we were both older, and we tried to get pregnant and couldn't. And my husband had a history of cancer and had cancer treatment. So we knew sort of from the get-go that was not necessarily going to be an easy road for us. And I was over 40. So as my doctor said, I already had old eggs to start with, which was
Don't you love that when they
really,
refer to them
like
as
that what
old
they're going to
eggs?
call them, but it's like, okay. So, we went through fertility treatments and did all sorts of things, from the sort of the simplest of just like, well, without going into all the details, from the simplest to somewhat more complex. And along the way, I also participated in a mindfulness body-mind group that was part of John Kabat-Zinn's I'm blanking out what it's called, but his mindfulness meditation work. It was a 10-week course. I remember it was offered through one of the local hospitals. And I remember that the woman who was facilitating the class, and there were, 15, 20 of us in the class, and the facilitator was this lovely person who had an adopted daughter. And I remember thinking, wow, how can she be facilitating a group for a bunch of women who are trying to get pregnant when she herself didn't get pregnant? And there was a part of me that sort of felt, oh, I hope she's okay. I mean, she was doing this, on purpose. She was getting paid. This was her profession. But I remember having that thought. And then as the class went on, it was 10 weeks, a few women began to get pregnant. There were all different circumstances in the class. I remember one young woman had 4 or 5 miscarriages before the class, and some of us had never been pregnant. There were a few people in the class who had previously had an abortion and now were trying to get pregnant on purpose. So there's a whole range of, ages and reasons for being in the group. And at one point, 1 or 2 women in the group said, I'm done trying these sort of medically invasive things. I'm going to start the adoption process. And she brought home her daughter. This other woman in the class brought home her daughter from China and invited us to the welcome party for her daughter. And I remember looking at my friend in the group and looking at her daughter and thinking, we could do that. We weren't quite ready to give up the ghost, so to speak, in terms of trying to get pregnant in the old-fashioned way. But it created a possibility for me in the first time to think about it in a different way. And after, about 2 years, I think, of, infertility treatments, I finally said, no more. And we can do this. We can adopt our daughter from China. And at the time, and probably still now, it was pretty much was daughters, because I think about 90 to 95% of all the babies who were freed for adoption at that point in time were girls. And so that was the relaunch experience. I started off with this woman in my group facilitating, and I sort of felt a little bad for her, thinking, oh, I hope she's okay. And then a friend of mine who was doing the group with me sort of was going through the same process I was, only she was just a few clicks ahead on her. She might have been a little older, maybe not, but she just was ready sooner to consider another option. And then we got there, and it was absolutely meant to be. And there's a wonderful word in Yiddish called beshert. And
Mhm.
beschert means it was fated or meant to be. And it's often used when you meet your beloved who's going to be your life partner. He or she is your beschert, but it can be used for anything that feels like this was just meant to be. So it was really
Mm.
clear that our daughter was just beschert. She was meant to be. And that was we began the process, I guess, about 27 or 28 years ago. Yeah, I joke it was like a 2-year pregnancy because from start to finish, it took about 18 months to go through the adoption process. But she's now 25 years old and she's in graduate school for social work. And we've had
That's
ups
such a
and
great,
downs
it
over the
is
years.
Bashari. I mean, what a wonderful story that is.
Thank you.